Grandpa was showing off his Vietnamese curse words that he learned in the war to Mom's work friend, who was actually Korean.
Oh my God. You have to convince her that you're a Yank, and then she'll begrudgingly switch to English. So what I do then is that's when I switch to Klingon, just to keep them on their toes. Ho, back, Inca, ho, kapla.
I don't see how the monkey is going to hear our punchlines if he covers his ears.
I don't get that at all. Grandpa tried to make a citizen's arrest yesterday because someone jumped in the deli line. There's always chatter about my mom and the dump truck emoji. Look, people, whether she's gotten her commercial driver's license or not is none of your goddamn business, okay?
This is the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast.
I really thought it was an animal.
It's been raining for like 3 days.
God.
Yeah,
I guess so. I thought it was April showers in May.
Yeah, we're barely into March. Yeah, hard to believe. Well, I would like to discuss my fear of emojis. Okay. You may think it's ridiculous, and it probably is. Is there like a class I could take to learn emojis? Because I have this fear of them. Every time some Zoomer uses one in a comment, I break out in a cold sweat. That the other day somebody put the skull after one of our videos, and I was like, oh my God, what's the skull mean?
Is it a death threat?
So I raced to Google it. It means dying laughing. So I was like, phew. I didn't think that a skull could mean playful hyperbole.
Jesus, I remember when, back in the day to text an emoji, you had to use a 3 and a caret together to make a heart and a colon with a capital P to be a stuck out tongue. Where's the creativity now? It even suggests them for you. Every time I type idea, I get the light bulb, even if I am saying bad idea. No black light bulb emojis for that one. Or wait, would that signify a rave? This shit gets confusing fast.
I prefer the stumpy leg Santa emoji. I don't know what it means.
Every now and then, without glasses, if I try to throw the horns as a comment, I accidentally pick the index finger one. I have a question, but I want to ask politely. Totally kills the rock and roll vibe.
And Stasis Eureka. I get a little skeeved out by the extra pointy star. Is it some sort of call to arms by the Zionist community? Do I have to pick a side in the Gaza conflict for this emoji? I was just saying, what if you're at the grocery store and we really need cherries and eggplants and I'm pressed for time? What is the etiquette?
I don't see how the monkey is going to hear our punchlines if he covers his ears.
I don't get that at all.
Are these people expecting me to repeat myself for someone that peels bananas with his feet?
There's always chatter about my mom and the dump truck emoji. Look, people, whether she's gotten her commercial driver's license or not is none of your goddamn business, okay?
She have dumps like a truck? And must it always mean the entendre? I like the one. If you have first a lady with hair, and then a hand, and then a bald lady, it means wig snatched. And Christ on a cracker, I had to Google, what does that even mean?
Before I forget, this week's sponsor is Cock Blocker Tilapia Soda. There's plenty of fish out there, people. Don't settle.
But back to the Google machine. Wig snatch just means kind of like clutching the pearls or shock and awe.
Okay.
So if this is another one, do a surprised face followed by the index finger, followed by the straight flat face, and then the closed fist, it means never mind. I mean, wouldn't it be less trouble just to type the word?
I'm going to the dentist, but I can't pick up the kids on Tuesday.
I really thought we had moved on from hieroglyphics about, let's say a millennia ago. Now we're back.
Let's talk about Canada.
Huh?
Did you know that Canadians measure the outside temperature in Celsius, but when they cook, they use degrees Fahrenheit?
Weird.
Kind of inconsistent. So I have a theory that their version of the Dewey Decimal System involves a Rubik's Cube and some electromagnets.
I don't think there's any word if they use gallons or liters for measuring maple syrup productivity.
Syrup Consortium.
The Canadian national anthem was written in 1880 by a poet named Adolphe Bezo Routhier. I wonder if he agonized coming up with a real knock your socks off title and then had to settle for, oh, Canada.
Not very fancy, is it?
I still think he plagiarized Oh Christmas Tree.
Or Oh, the Places You'll Go, maybe. Along the same lines, residents of Montreal must have burned the midnight oil coming up with their hockey team's name, the Canadiens. Can you imagine calling an NBA team the Dallas Americans? Or maybe the Chicago Humans? Or the Philadelphia Straight White Males? They're not a very good basketball team, by the way.
How about the Baltimore Homo sapiens? We're upright.
There you go.
Well, I think the Washington Commanders is close to being that
Yeah,
generic.
at least you got the Handmaid's Tale tie-in with that.
Still kind of scares me.
You know, I did date a girl from Toronto for a while.
Yeah.
It didn't work out, though, because she could never leave well enough alone.
Oh, my. You know, there's a movement to censor classic rock songs, I guess for,
Make them more PG.
PG, radio edit.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually made Seek and Destroy into Seek and Mildly Inconvenience.
Very polite. Yeah.
While now I heard they changed the chorus to Nine Inch Nails. Closer is I want to farm you like a vegetable.
Good. It's very polite.
And I always figured going back to Canada that the Royal Canadian Mounted Police really hated Dudley Do-Right.
Yeah, he ruined it for him, I think.
They used to have a John Wayne vibe or like a Texas, ranger, striking fear in the hearts of criminals until he ruined them by repping them as first-class dolt on a horse. Now they get the same respect as wabbit hunters and purple dinosaurs.
Midnight Crack the Sky song couldn't save him.
Oh, yeah.
Rangers at midnight.
I don't think that one helped either. And I am pretty sure they are tired of people asking them how the war on kumquats is going.
Come on.
I roll.
Milk in Canada is actually sold in bags, which is unusual. So I guess instead of milkmen, they have milk bag ladies.
Oh.
I've heard they have no jugs whatsoever.
I have accidentally bought a leaky carton. I've actually even had a leaky plastic jug, a few times.
Mm-hmm.
And you get home and you got a, shopping bag full of milk.
Yeah.
I wonder how many times they get home from the store with their milk leaked out all over their trunk. This doesn't seem a very safe way to transmit it.
Mm-mm.
Maybe this is where the expression got left holding the bag came from.
Mm-hmm.
I remember we talked about this with Howard Helms of Dawn.
Right.
But Canuck actually really sounds like an offensive slur.
It really does. Yeah.
It has all the characteristics. But he assured us it is perfectly not offensive. It's more of an affectionate term.
Mm-hmm.
We were like, please.
Mm. I think it's adorable how Eastern Canadians, they still lead off with the French. I've dealt with Canadian companies, and when you call them, it's all Merci d'Avaux, L'Appel, Moby, Revolving Hammock Corporation, whatever, So then you dial to the operator, and she's freaking speaking French too. It's so irritating. She's like, you have to convince her that you're a Yank, and then she'll begrudgingly switch to English. So what I do then is that's when I switch to Klingon, just to keep them on their toes. Back, Inca, Kapla. Okay, let's talk about our feature interview.
Our feature interview this week is with Roger Nilsson, one of the founding members of the long-running Swedish metal band, The Quill. We have a lovely discussion with Roger about the history of the band, how they came to create their exciting new album, Wheel of Illusion. We even get into his addiction to peanuts and talk about the high cost of school books, so stay tuned for that.
Very good. Okay, well, this is from the brand new Quill album. The song is Elephant Head.
What can you do about it? We are paranoid. Way too deep in trouble. To the boy with the elephant head. Elephant head. I believe in the universe.
Okay, let's talk about Patreon. The site is patreon.com/Snaggletooth Podcasts. It is loaded with all kinds of bonus content that for $6.66 a month, you can unlock. More Mark and Stace than anyone can possibly tolerate.
By the way, again, we have some coffee mugs, double-sided, rock and roll, and decay for our first 5 new Patreons. So you get a coffee mug and bonus content.
Absolutely. Yeah.
How much would you pay now?
This week I added a review of a band called Bitch Witch. They're kind of Manson obsessed and witch obsessed. See the hood. Is this any good? Is this worth exploring? You'll just have to log on to Patreon and see. And you've got some plans, don't you? Some new material?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we're in fact, I think tomorrow I'll film some more cooking tips and tricks. Everybody's got to eat. I have learned so many things with my food processor and air fryer.
Yeah, she's become quite the air fryer chef. True.
Maybe eventually we'll do another
Blind beer tasting.
blind beer tasting without the dog pooping on the floor. That would be exciting. Or the cat pooped. Somebody pooped.
Yeah, I'd forgotten all about that. So, all right. So this piece is called My Niece the Spy. I have a niece that spends a lot of time with my parents.
Mm.
And it's not because they're fun. It's because they bribe her.
Oh.
They take her out shopping. They get carry out all the time for her, that sort of thing, right? Now, this does not work on my brothers and I because we are way past the point of bribery. They could buy me a freaking Maserati and offer to pay off my mortgage, and I still wouldn't come over. So it's not worth the actual cost, which involves browbeating, guilt trips, and various unhealthy behavior manipulations. There is a difference between the price of something and the cost of something, okay? But they're very amusing. It's their combination of paranoia, obsolescence, fear of technology, and general grouchiness. They really are at a point in their lives when they should not leave the house ever. The great part about this arrangement is my niece is actually a very good spy.
God.
She can quietly observe and pretend she's on her phone when she's actually committing all this to memory so she can report back to HQ. I live for this shit, right? Uncle Mark, did you hear that Grandma was banned from volunteering to count money at St. Michael's? She got banned from church? Or I'll just get a voicemail. Granddad called the cashier at Chipotle a communist. Call me back.
Oh my. Grandma stormed out of her class reunion, knocking over the punch bowl because someone said they didn't like Tim Allen.
That's so stupid.
Grandpa was showing off his Vietnamese curse words that he learned in the war to Mom's work friend, who was actually Korean.
Oh my God. Grandpa tried to make a citizen's arrest yesterday because someone jumped in the deli line. It's freaking gold. I just got to hear it. So, okay, so this brings us to, we haven't done a Seussical in a while. And if you have even the slightest interest in music, you have been pelted with messages like me about the Slayer reunion. And the timing of it is really weird because like 3 weeks ago, Carrie King was saying, I haven't heard from Tom in ages. And now all of a sudden they're going to headline this big festival. So
Mark even got a tattoo.
I did. This is my Slayer tattoo that I got. I'll put up on the screen. Little Hell Awaits action. I've always wanted one, and now is the perfect time. So be jealous. Go ahead. And I've put a few words to rhyme. So I wrote this musical, and I'm going to call it Rhyming Has No Boundaries. Metal fans were recently surprised to learn of Slayer's unexpected return. None of us would have ever guessed they'd reformed to headline the Riot Fest. The band's reunion has been hotly debated. Slayer did things I liked and some things that I hated. Always a source of controversy going all the way back to Show No Mercy. Obviously, their first 5 releases were nothing short of masterpieces. The songs were so evil, so fast, and so tight, and all dedicated to Satan's might. Of course, some things I never could quite get. Only one song from Hell Awaits in the set. And as years went on, the lyrics got dumber, and you'll never top Dave Lombardo as drummer. The lineup changes were really a shame. Without Dave and Jeff, they were never the same. The last couple records aren't very compelling. The riffs are pretty dull, and there's way too much yelling. So in the end, the Slatanic Machine did its final tour in 2019. Tom Araya quite enjoyed the pause, becoming the thrash metal Santa Claus. So amidst the grumblings and the high fives and the weird tweets coming from the band's wives, Grab your tickets and they won't be cheap, but here's hoping they play At Dawn They Sleep. Nailed it. Okay, this is not Slayer. This is the Quill.
So our sponsor this week is Home Chef. You may have heard a lot of buzz about keto friendly and all kinds of meal services. I have tried a lot of them. I myself like to cook. I have learned tips and tricks from Home Chef, unlike any other that I've run across. They have such innovative ideas. In fact, this one, I saved the recipe. It was for salmon cakes. I had never tried to make them before.
They're so good.
I added a little Old Bay. Of course, in Baltimore, I put Old Bay in everything.
Mhm.
And I also subbed in a little horsey sauce with the mayonnaise. But the key to making salmon cakes that stick together, and Home Chef taught me this, you have to put them in the freezer for about 20 minutes. And that helps them stick together. So I think I'm a pretty accomplished chef, but I have learned things from them combinations that I would have not put together myself.
Less shopping, more chopping.
So you don't have to go to the grocery store. If you yourself don't like the cooking from scratch, there are different levels of Home Chef. You can do my method and just get all your ingredients. You can have it where it's somewhat prepared. Those are the express meals. And then they even have oven ready meals if you just want to throw it in the oven and not cook at all. My meals I picked this week, again, I like to cook. I have a chicken cutlet with black garlic butter. Actually, this was last week. And kale mashed potatoes.
She tricked me into eating kale.
It was amazing. You can't even taste the kale yet. All the goodness.
Hi, Ron.
A fiery chipotle turkey chili with white cheddar. And again, you get all the ingredients. They put pictures on the back, step-by-step pictures with instructions so you can't get lost.
You had me at fiery.
And a sheet pan, harissa garlic chicken with roasted sweet potatoes and red onion. Again, I never would have put sweet potatoes and red onion
We're going to
together.
try to make potato chips in the air fryer and
Yep.
sweet potato chips in the air fryer.
I
We're getting
did,
nutty around here with the air fryer.
I did with potatoes, although you can use frozen potatoes, but why would you when you could just throw a potato in your food processor and then dump it in your air fryer?
Microwave,
really
microwave
good.
clothing. You'd stay warm and bake a potato in your pants. That's what I think.
Anyway, if you would like to try Home Chef and skip the grocery store, don't have to worry about, do I have all the ingredients right to your door? Use our link. It will save you off your first order.
Okay. Band you might have heard of this week. This little band, these gentlemen from Motorhead put out an album in 1980 called No Sleep Till Hammersmith.
This was recorded at Newcastle, Runton, and Leeds. No actual Hammersmith material here.
Don't get caught up in the details.
And the first of their approximately 1,923 live Motorhead releases.
I think more after he died. But anyway.
No Sleep finds the classic lineup at the top of their game. The record is a landmark pile of brute force, eventually peaking at #1 in the UK. A collection of paradigm-destroying, whiskey-swilling odes to the female posterior, largely responsible for the band's ubiquitous presence that has outlived them all. Fast Eddie was the last to pass in 2018, and will continue to represent everything bullet-belted, parochial, and tight-trousered for decades to come.
I highly recommend you check out the classic albums series on Ace of Spades. They filmed it in the early 2000s when all three of them were still alive, and they go into the whole history of the band, and they're cracking jokes the whole time, and they're all in great humor, and they've all passed on at this point. So I mean, it's very touching, and it's got stuff like they sit in front of the soundboard, and one of them casually says, isolate the tap dancer in Ace of Spades. And you're like, tap dancer? There's a person tap dancing in that song. He turns it up on the board. It's awesome. Anyway, I highly recommend that. So, all right, so check out how heavy this comes through. This is the song Motorhead.
I know it's what you
No Soup Till Hammersmith. The performances are tight and groovy. Lem's bass roaring like a road saw in every track, like you just heard in Motorhead. It's much heavier than the garagey sound that Speedy Keen dialed up in the studio. The man's charm is indisputable, particularly in the iconic blue-collar poetry of We Are the Road Crew, dedicated to a fine body of men, and testament to how unpretentious and authentic this bunch really were. I still get goosebumps when he says, "Stand up straight," right before the solo in Metropolis.
Of course, I'm going to nitpick the track selection.
Of course.
Capricorn? Where is Damage Kate?
Yeah, that would have been better. Yeah.
Only one track from the Bomber record?
It's so underrated. Yeah.
What's the point? This is a record and a band at the center of my musical universe. R.I.P. Lem, Phil, Eddie. You've left a permanent scar on the face of popular music. Look at that cover. How badass was that bomber rig anyway? Forget about it.
Bless you, my son, even though you're an asshole. This is We Are the Road Crew. Okay, let's introduce the interview.
This is our interview with Roger from the Quill.
Super nice guy. Super
Oh
nice.
my God. And their music, this record, if you haven't checked it out, it's really solid, really
The
good.
songs that we played for you are, they're not even the best songs on the record. So, yeah.
Anyway, take it away.
So where you're located at?
We're on the East Coast in Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I don't know what the weather's like there, but it is cold
Yeah,
here.
we're in our really bad cold snap.
We
right now.
we woke up yesterday and it was like a surprise snow. I was like, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had it snow. It's been a little bit on and off. We had snow for a couple of weeks, and then it all melted away, and you start to get the spring feeling, and then all of a sudden it's snowing again. So it's that
Right, you
time
get
of
that
year, I
false-
guess.
That false
Yeah.
spring feeling. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad. I was surprised because they didn't call for it at all. And around here, snow doesn't last really long. As soon as the
No.
sun comes out, it melts. But I was like, really?
Yeah, it's just very inconvenient. Yeah.
Was it really necessary?
Right, exactly.
I was gonna go out for a run yesterday. I'm like, well, that's shot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I was really excited to see the new album. It had been so long since I'd heard from the Quill, and it looks like you guys are back to pretty much the original lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about what brought you back together? Was it just were you apart? Were there other projects? Like, well, I guess why so long?
I guess it was basically life came in between. I stepped out for a while, a couple of years from the band. I had other commitments, work and family life and children and everything. And the same went for Magnus, our singer. He took a couple of years off as well. He just handling life, I guess. And then it all came together really organically. We just we were asked to do sort of a show for fun, doing just Kiss covers, and we had no singer for that one. We had a singer in between. And a friend of ours asked, "Can't you just play some Kiss songs at a party I'm having?" And then we just got asked Magnus. We live in the same area, all of us. So we started out playing Kiss covers, and then when we were rehearsing, you just automatically someone had a riff, and we started jamming again, and it all came together really easy. And it was never any hard feelings between all the four of us leaving. It was we were friends even when we weren't in the band, seeing each other and everything. So it was really easy getting together again.
So that explains that picture on your Instagram page. Was that you guys and all the makeup and everything?
I don't know. What do you refer to? I don't know what you refer
There was
to.
a post on the Instagram page that was like Kiss Army, and I wasn't sure. And it was like everybody in makeup. And I was like, was that you guys?
Yeah, but I don't know. Probably we didn't do it and everyone else had makeup at the party, but we didn't. We're too ugly. We had too much beard. All of us. We can't
Gets in the way.
put on makeup.
He has that problem too. Like occasionally we'll do like little fun promo shots with like, the
Yeah.
the corpse paint, and he's like, I have to get this
I
off.
don't know how you could perform
Yeah.
with makeup the whole time. I wouldn't be able to do it. Yeah.
No. It's really. I did it once when I was young. We had some sort of thing in school, but it was such a nightmare doing it. So I'm
Yeah.
not planning on doing it ever again. And now since Kiss is retired, so it's really no reason.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I noticed you talked about something, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but Samilac stubbornness. What
Yeah.
would that translate to?
As Småland, that's the part of Sweden we come from, and we're known to. It's a really harsh landscape, and people here are sort of quiet and minding their own business and doing their thing, and you sort of everyone is stubborn, and I guess in a way, and you just keep on keeping on, I guess, whatever comes your way, and I think that's sort of our band's identity as well. We've been around for 30 years now, doing, I think it's our 11th album, this one. And this, I don't know, we just continue to do what we do.
Yeah.
So I guess that I can see that, and that's part of our mentality, I guess, here around in this part of Sweden.
Yeah. It's a funny story. I remember, like, I read about Tim Finn from Crowded House. They finally got signed to EMI. EMI called
Yeah.
them. They live in New Zealand, and they got the big call that they were looking for. This is in the 80s. And the response was, well, we're in the middle of dinner right now.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a certain mindset. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess along our long career, we have sort of made decisions that were kind of probably from a business perspective kind of stupid, but you have to sort of be true to your own sort of idea of what you want to do, and I guess.
So,
But then when you look back at it, you can think, oh, that was a stupid idea. Why did we say no to that one? That would have been a great thing to do.
Well, yeah. I mean, Wayne Kramer just passing away recently. I was telling Stacy the story. I have a book about it. I don't think any band made more bad decisions than MC5. If you read it, it's just like a nightmare with the Black Panthers and their choices for being such a great band. It was just like, oh God, how not to do it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess it's better to fail on your own terms and by your own decisions, or sort of failing on other people's decisions. At least at the end of it, you can say we stayed true to what we believed in. I guess.
Exactly. Yeah, very good.
So do you remember who came up with the name the Quill, or where it came from?
We've discussed it. I think it's long lost in time. Our drummer and our guitarist, they've been playing together since they started out as kids, basically when they were like 12, 13 years old, just like kids do. And they've been together ever since. And then gradually it became more and more sort of professional. And I think the final step came when I joined in '95 and we got a record contract. But I think it was actually spelled Quill with just one L, sort of a made up word from the beginning. And then when it got serious, no one understood what it meant. So we had to sort of reshape it. So, I mean, I don't know, it's maybe not the most rock and roll name of them all, but it's been around for so long now. But I don't think anyone really knows where it came from. It's so long. We're so old now, so we're starting to forget things. We're sort of like Ace Frehley. You don't remember anything at all.
Well, speaking of the early days, I remember when Meteor City remastered the first album was the first time I heard it, and I want to say it was like late '90s. I always thought that first Quill record was so far ahead of its time. I used to tell my friends, these guys should have gotten that Queens of the Stone Age money.
Yeah.
What was it like back then? I mean, were you guys told, this is you guys are, did you get a lot of false promises, I guess,
Yeah, in a way, I guess so. But as you said, we've always been sort of, it was a little bit ahead of its time. And then we came early in the whole stoner rock movement as well. But we always been a little bit different, and we never really fitted in. We actually spoke to our label about it, our record label, and they said, you always been sort of either ahead or a little bit late for stuff, and and we never really sort of just it was we never really were at the right place at the right time, I guess. But as for the stone rock movement, we got a lot of sort of I don't know. I guess we got big record contracts around that time and everything, but we always, since we have a singer with a totally different style from most stoner rock movements, the stoner rock movement, I guess we sort of never really fitted in that category either. And so it's, I mean, I always refer to us as classic hard rock, sort of the Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, Black Sabbath style of music. So, and I mean, we always written the songs we like. We never sort of try it. We've never been like, what's sort of hot right now and try to fit in that mold. That was never our thing at all.
Yeah, I was curious about that because the early stuff definitely sounds a little bit more grunge. So
Yeah.
I guess it was just the era and not you guys trying to, like, you know, compete with that.
His voice is so incredible.
Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of, I mean, in the early days, we got a lot of references to Soundgarden and Chris Cornell, and they have sort of a similar way of singing. And I guess, I mean, we are all big music fans and we listen to music all the time, and you can't help but being influenced by the stuff you listen to. And the grunge movement was definitely something we listened to, all those bands, Soundgarden and Pearl Jam and Alice in Chains and all that stuff. There were some great records made around that time. So you can hear a little bit of that, especially in the early albums, as you say.
I really like, there's a lot of slide guitar on the new record. Like, it seems like, I don't remember a lot of that on the past records. It really comes through well. Like, who decided to kind of lace that in, I guess?
I don't know, really. I mean, we always try to find a little bit of bits and pieces of stuff that you haven't heard on albums before. And Christian is a really good blues player as well. He has another blues project. He's actually in the studio recording a new album with it right now. So he's been playing a lot of blues this past few years, I guess. And sort of, he's always been a really good guitar player, but the sort of bluesy, slider stuff has certainly improved a lot over these years since he started playing with this blues band as well. Or sort of, it's not a blues band, it's sort of rock blues, more in Johnny Winter style. And as I said, we always try to find some instrument or something to keep each album fresh and give the listener something they haven't heard on a Quill album before. So there's a little bit of keyboards as well on this one. I actually play a little bit of mandolin on one track as well. It was sort of my Corona project when you were sitting around for 2 years and you have nothing to do, and I said, fuck, what am I going to do with all this time? So I always wanted to learn to play the mandolin, so I went to the music store and bought myself a mandolin and just sat around for months playing. So that's what I got from the Corona years or COVID years. I learned to play mandolin.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, I love the sound on this one. It's so Southern rock, and I worked for a doctor, but he wasn't in the office Friday, so I was just at my desk and I had it playing. And a girl I work with came up to me. They're like, "Are they from Louisiana?" I'm like, "No, they're not."
Not exactly.
No. We're from sort of, and I guess you can't even say that this part of Sweden is Sweden's Louisiana, because this, as I said, is really harsh country here. So it's no Louisiana at all. But I guess there's some Southern rock too. We love like Black Crowes and Lynyrd Skynyrd and all that stuff as well. So I guess that we take a little bits and pieces of all the music we like and add it to our own songwriting.
Yeah, the leads are great. I was playing them for Stace, and I was like, this is you can create a dramatic solo without having to play 1,000 miles an hour the entire time. You know, you can it's very nice.
Yeah, and everything was, we approach each album a little bit different. And the last one, the Earthrise album, we went in with sort of sketches of the songs and sort of built them in the studio and had really no idea what they would sound like. But this one we wanted, and that took a lot of time, and we went back and forth. And this time we wanted to have sort of a quicker approach. So we rehearsed everything really well in the rehearsal room. So once we went into the studio, everything was sort of went really quick. We have sort of basically everything was more or less finished, except I guess for the solos. Christian always wants to sort of do them on the spot and sort of get inspiration in the moment. But this time he did them in the studio. On the last album, he recorded all his solos at home by himself. So a little bit of a different approach. And as I said, we tried to keep things fresh and by doing stuff a little bit different for each album.
Do you usually write the albums in the studio like over the years, or do you usually go in like this one where you kind of have everything rehearsed up front? What do you prefer?
I think we work as a band. COVID changed it a little bit because we usually always met in the rehearsal room, and someone has an idea. Usually it's Jolly, our drummer, or Christian, the guitarist, who's sort of write the main part of the music, and they come with sort of, it could just be a riff or something, and then we all jam on it, and then Magnus writes all the melodies and lyrics. But this time, is just because of COVID, we sat at home and writing a lot and sending ideas over the internet from it to each other and everyone. So then we got together. Sort of, he picked, these are the ideas I really like, and then we met in the rehearsal room once all the regulations were lifted here in Sweden, and sort of just put it all together. But that's sort of the first time we did it that way. Previously we always sort of written everything, all four of us in the rehearsal room.
Yeah, I was impressed. You know, was that also a pandemic problem to put together that, the live new Borrowed and Blue album?
Yeah.
And kind of pick everything, but you guys are a really good live band too. How did you go about picking what songs you wanted to include?
I don't know. It was actually that whole album. The idea was we were meant to tour really in Europe. We had a European tour booked, and the record company wanted to have a product out, and we had the Earthrise album was already a year old. And during the whole pandemic, I was sitting around at home. I have sort of all the master tapes and everything we record, and there was no time to record anything. And we had a couple of live recordings. There's a couple of live tracks on that live new Borrowed Blue album from Sweden Rock. But there was some problems with the recording. It was, when you record at a festival, it's always other band playing simultaneously. So our live recording, there's a couple of tracks that are okay, but the rest of them, all the mics are sort of pick up stuff from other shows at the festival area. So, but two tracks we could use, which were sort of cool. But it's a shame because the show was really good, but sound wise they were. But I'm hoping AI will fix that. So you can sort of erase that stuff. Yeah. But we got some other stuff. Yeah, we did a 30th anniversary show here last May, and we recorded that one as well. So that's on the shelf. So we will probably have to look into that one as well. So there's some stuff in the vaults.
That's great.
Yeah, you did a great job on that Aerosmith SOS. How did you go about picking that one? I mean, it fit perfect.
Yeah, that was recorded a long time ago. There were, at the end of the 90s, there were a lot of these tribute albums being made. And we were offered a lot of them. I think we did one for Trouble. We did one for Aerosmith. I think we did for Captain Beyond as well. And we had all these, and I can't remember really why we chose SOS. Or I think maybe for that album, I think they asked us, can you please do this one? Because we want it on the tribute album. So I don't even think it was our idea. And it's always fun to play these covers. We always try to sort of stay a little bit true to the original, but always try to sort of get our change a little bit in it. And I think the SOS cover is one. I think we changed the whole riff and the verses and everything, and came up with something different, which made it kind of fresh. I think it's a really cool track, that actually.
Yeah, that's one of my rules for covers. They can't if they're to be really good, they kind of have to be reinvented and die. So I
Yeah.
love that. You know, it's
Yeah.
like it took me a minute to realize. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. What have they done to my favorite song?
No, it made
Blasphemy.
it better. And
Yeah.
that's the key. As soon as I hear that,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it's even better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool track.
So I love the Wheel of Illusion kind of concept, and obviously it's about kind of, you know, religion being a bad thing, which I kind of agree with. Do you think
Yeah.
that there's any difference between like organized religion and like a cult?
I guess I'm actually I used to work as a teacher in religion. I'm not doing that now, but I actually had an exam as a teacher of religion. So you can get a whole lecture from me now if you want to, but I won't get into that.
The
But
artwork, there's a lot
obviously, I
going
mean,
on. There's a lot
yeah,
going on
there's
in
a
the
lot going
artwork.
on. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I guess if you take anything and take it to the extreme, it becomes a cult. It could be religion, or it could be whatever. It could be. I mean, there's so much in society now that sort of everyone is taking everything to the edge, I guess. And the album is about that. I mean, it is troubled times with you have the war in Israel and Palestine, and here we have the war with Ukraine and Russia. It's sort of really shaking Sweden as well. I mean, we're a country, we haven't been to war for over 200 years, and now everyone is sort of, the military is sort of all of a sudden they put a lot of money into the military in Sweden, which we haven't done in years and years and years, and everyone is starting to get a bit concerned. And I guess the album is a little bit about that, because it's about war and it's about religion and the bad side of a religion. Religion could be a good thing to lots of people, but if you take anything to the extreme, I think it's everything in moderation, I guess.
Yeah.
Whatever you do.
Yeah, like they have this crazy stuff. They've done a bunch of documentaries on the Mormons out in Salt Lake, and you know, it's incredible when they, you know, some guy with 42 wives and 300 children, and oh my God, and I'm like, this
But
is
they all make the same mistake though. They all make one person immortal, and then when the person dies, they're like, "What do we
Yeah.
do now?" Like it.
Yeah.
I can't believe that they don't plan for that. It's just like, oh, we need to have a meeting, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And as I say, in Sweden is the sort of religion is really not a big part here. Not in the sort of in the political life as it is in the US, where
Right.
religion is really a big part of the politics as well. It's not here at all in Sweden, but it's starting to creep in as well, just because of the troubled times and because of, I mean, we're really influenced by America as well, and you have a lot of Swedish politicians looking at the US and sort of trying to pick up bits and pieces of what's working in the US. And I don't really think that necessarily is a good thing.
No,
You can
there's
pick
not
the
much
good
working.
things, but nah. I really don't have any opinion about it, because I mean, you get media's view of everything, and everything is twisted. So you sort of have to find your own way and your own beliefs in a lot of what's going on right now.
Sure.
yeah, I still can't believe in this day and age we're still invading each other. I'm like, can we
Yeah.
please?
Yeah, it's hard to
stop?
believe. Yeah. So I
Yeah,
want to
and
talk about
everyone was sort of really surprised by that as well, and it's
Yeah.
certainly stirred up a lot of things here in Sweden. Absolutely.
So I want to talk about the album artwork a little bit. It's really striking. Like, where did you guys? Was it an artist that you worked with before? How did you come about the?
That middle looks like the Eye of Sauron.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, I mean, we worked. Is a German guy called Sebastian Jerke. He's done the artwork for Earthrise and Born from Fire. So this is his third album for us, and we really like his style. And he's actually painting by hand. It's not digital artwork. Most of all the artists today doing album designs are doing digital stuff, but that's really an original painting, which I think is really sort of, I like the craftsmanship of it all.
Yeah.
And the idea really came from, that's sort of the Buddhist sign for the wheel of life. That was the embryo of it all, and then we took that idea and he sort of read all the lyrics, and so you can find sort of images. All the images are related to the lyrics on the album, and the whole wheel thing is sort of a Buddhist influence, I guess.
It's funny, so talking about artists, we have artwork on the show from time to time, and we'll see an artist that we really like their album artwork, or at a gallery the other day we saw a really striking artist. But every time I want to reach out, I remember that the guy that we use is free. So
Yeah.
we have to remind each other.
Yeah.
Let's stick with the free guy. Yeah, he
Yeah,
might not be
free
the
guy, yeah.
best, but he doesn't charge anything. So yeah.
No, this guy is a little bit expensive, but I think it's worth it. I
Yeah.
mean, we come from the old school of sitting around just looking at vinyl records, and so we sort of we make stuff that we like ourselves, and something that we would want to have in our hands to look at. And sort of, I love all those old Iron Maiden covers where you could sit for hours and just look at stuff and find new stuff each time. And he's sort of from that old school of artwork. So and people seem to really enjoy it as well, that you put some time and effort to it, because for a while there, when you were doing only CDs, no one really cared about the artwork because everything was so small. You couldn't really work with the format at all. But then when the whole vinyl resurrection started, everyone started to pay more attention to the artwork again, which I think is really fantastic.
Yeah, that's great. I love that we're starting to see reissues of, there was that black period where from 98 to 03, where a lot of stuff just was only on CD. I love seeing that we're starting to get vinyl versions of that stuff, because there was a lot of really great records that came out during that period that only came out digital,
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of I continued to buy vinyl records for quite a long time, and a lot of those records you bought around 95, 96, 97, they were a fortune now because they were so small.
Small press.
Small pressing. So I have a lot of that stuff. That's sort of, I'm keeping that for retirement.
That's your retirement.
Yeah.
And we've really seen a resurgence of vinyl stores, that have popped up. It's really great because we collect tons of stuff. So, and it's not so much that we play it, but that you have this piece of art, as well as the music. So
right, and growing up,
and it's cool to see. We're all sort of record collectors in the band, and it's cool to see younger people getting into it as well. I have a daughter who's 18 years old who wanted a record player for Christmas last Christmas. So, and of course I bought her one. If she wanted one, I'm buying it. So we're going to record fairs together now and searching for. We went to London this last November, just buying records, me and my daughter, and that's a perfect father and daughter thing to do.
That's great.
Vinyl shopping in London. It was expensive though, because I had to pay for everything.
In the old days, the record store was not just for buying records; it was a hangout. We would meet other people there, and it was like a cultural thing, and we just talk about artwork and different people who like different kind of music. We could communicate. It was really like a community center almost.
Virtual, not even a virtual chat, a non-virtual chat room.
Right, an actual in-person chat room. Yes.
Absolutely, and you had artists coming and doing signings, and you could buy tickets for shows and everything. As I said, it was sort of social media in a way, in its true nature.
Right. Yeah.
I also we love the video for Wheel of Illusion. It was you could just see how on you guys are. And where was it shot? Because kind of hard to...
Yeah, it was actually shot in our rehearsal room. We have quite a big rehearsal. That's a good thing. We're living in a remote part of Sweden. It's really easy to get good rehearsal spaces. If you live sort of in Stockholm or anywhere, it's really difficult to get a good rehearsal room. But down here, we live in the by the southeast coast of Sweden. It's really good to get a really good rehearsal space. So we had the same really big room now for 30 years. So we sort of just used a part of the rehearsal room and shot it there actually. So and I'm glad you like it. It's a lot of cool stuff. Our drummer went to Mexico for a vacation, so he shot all the sort of images from the cemeteries, stuff he shot, and at a Mexican cemetery, during his vacation. We had to have him work. If you're going on vacation, you're shooting some stuff for the video.
Exactly. You're always doing something for the band, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a couple of. I actually got. We have another video coming up in 2 weeks. So I got sort of a first view of that one as well. It looks really cool. It's totally different, but you have to wait a couple of weeks to see that one. But that's a little bit more animated stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Very cool.
this was so good. I decided like to go, and listen to some of the back catalog that I had not. Do you remember where "Hooray, It's a Death Trap" came from for the title? It almost sounds Monty Python.
Yeah, it actually came to me during a shower. We had we had a really big problem. We had recorded the album, and we had the artwork and everything, but we had no title at all. And the record company were at us, and you had to decide for a record title now. And we had no idea. We were totally blocked. And I took a shower, and I don't know where it came from. I think, if I remember it correctly, I was listening to a Grand Funk album, and they have a song called "Hooray." And I don't know where the death trip came from. It's sort of a reference to life, I guess. Sort of, hooray, it's a death trip. We're all going to die at the end. And I remember when we sent it to the record label, and we don't get it. But that's the title. We're sticking to it. Now you got your title, and we don't get it at all.
That's great.
It was the same with the cover for that album as well. We don't get it. And that's probably one of those, when I said earlier that we made decisions that maybe were a little bit weird. And nowadays, when you look back at it, I don't know. But it made sense at the time, I guess.
It's a good record. It is
Really good.
Yeah.
So was the creative process on the Wheel of Illusion the same or different from recording Earthrise?
I was basically the same. I mean, we recorded in the same studio now, and with the same guy as well. It's the third album we've done with him. So this one was basically more or less the same. We sort of have a good way of working with him, and a good way of communicating, and he knows us, and we know him, and we know the studio as well, and so we can work really quickly. And as I said, I mentioned earlier, we wrote it a little bit different this time, but it was basically, we have a good setting now that we're really pleased with. We were discussing a little bit before the recording if we should go away and find a different studio, and sort of try to focus and take a couple of weeks and just go someplace else. But because this studio we've been using now is located where I live, so you sort of work and you go home and you sleep in your own bed, and it could be a good thing, but it could also be a bad thing, because then it's really nice to go into the studio and just focus on recording for a couple of weeks, and not having to worry about sort of family life or work life or whatever. But it's so easy to work here and get stuff done quickly. So, and it's cheaper as well at the end of the day. So
yeah, no, I love the arrangements.
Yeah.
You could tell that you guys, it's a very mature sounding mix, and the drums are very crisp, and it doesn't sound overcrowded with too many guitar tracks like a lot of albums I hear now, especially metal albums. So
yeah,
I like the space in the mix. It reminds me of like kind of the 70s, type of vibe,
Yeah, and I think that's probably one of the things that sort of people forget. If you listen to all these older bands, like put on a Led Zeppelin album, there's a lot of lights and shades, and they don't overcrowd it. And if you listen to Black Sabbath, they're doing a lot of stuff in minor keys. You always have minor keys, but they also have major keys in the stuff, and they have a lot of space and sort of acoustic parts as well. And you have to have a little bit of everything. If you just sort of down tune everything and play heavy, it becomes boring. You have to have sort of lighter moments as well, because that turns the heavier stuff even heavier, if it makes sense.
But they weren't packing in 19 tracks of guitar. You know what I mean?
No.
It really sounds so much better when you don't overcrowd that.
And the tracks are really varied in sound.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
After we watched your video, and then I got the bug to go watch some old Sabbath. So I watched. I found an old War Pigs. He's not singing the lyrics right. And I thought, I forgot about that. Ozzy doesn't
Yeah.
sing the lyrics right. Okay. Yeah.
But that's cool. It's a way to keep things fresh, and that's the same when we play live as well. We try to sort of extend parts and sort of keep it fresh for each other as well. And the last couple of tours we've done, we also changed set lists from night to night, sort of just to keep all of us on our toes, because we done a couple of tours when we did a long tour with Monster Magnet, and we played the same set list for every night for like 60 days in a row, and you could play it in your sleep, and it was really tight and focused, but it was sort of boring in a way. So we said for these last couple of tours, we changed songs each and every night, and we could start with one song one night, and next night it's at the end of the set, and it's really interesting to see how sort of where you put it in the set, the song can turn out really different, energy wise and everything.
Yeah. Just kind of a trivia type question. You were in Firebird with Bill Steer.
Yeah.
What was that like? I remember when Firebird came out, I thought Bill Steer from Carcass has a stoner rock band. What was that like? I mean, what was he like? You know,
he's a great guy. We're still in contact with. I try to see him whenever I'm in London. This past November he was actually in Mexico, but whenever I'm in London, I try to see him, and if he's in Sweden as well, we try to see each other. But he's sort of the most humble guy you could ever meet, and that's sort of interesting because he's sort of like this guy who sort of invented both grindcore and all that stuff. Yeah. But he's sort of the most down to earth guy you could ever meet, and I got to know him through Mike Amott. I played with Mike from Arch Enemy and Spiritual Vegas, and they were friends, obviously, from Carcass. So I think it was Mike who mentioned me and Joel, our drummer, because Bill he was missing a drummer and a bass player. So we did one album with him and played a couple of shows as well. And then unfortunately Quill took a lot of time, and I was playing in Spiritual Vegas at that time as well. So there's only 24 hours a day that you can work with. And he was really anxious to go out and tour, and we had tours planned, so it didn't work out. But we're still friends. It's a really cool album. It was really fun to record with him. Everything was live. We recorded everything live in the studio in the same room, all three of us. So a lot of fun.
All right, should we do our game?
Sure.
All right, so we do a game on our show. This is called 5 Random Questions with Stace. That's me. So I have 100 questions in front of me. I want you to pick 5 numbers, and they will correspond to the 5 questions we will ask you.
Okay. So we'll start with, I think I'll start with my daughter's birthdays. Number 6.
Okay.
All right, go ahead. Pick 4 more numbers, then we'll start.
6 and 14. We can take 19. 28 and 73, because I was born in 1973 for no other reason.
All right. Number 6. What would we find on top of your refrigerator?
Dust.
I think that could be true for almost everyone.
Yeah, I think so.
Every now and then I get up on the ladder to clean the microwave, and I look over. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's the thing you do like once a year. Like over the refrigerator and the cupboards.
There's the bags I was trying to find. There
absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Number 14. What is your favorite comfort food?
Peanuts. I'm
Really?
a sucker for peanuts. Yeah. So much I went to the doctor, and he said you had to lay off peanuts because your blood pressure is quite high.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
It's too much salt, I guess.
Growing up, Americans, we love our peanut butter, like peanut butter sandwiches, and I've often said that people from other countries must think that's weird because peanut butter's weird, so.
I love peanut. All forms of peanut. I love it.
That's cool.
I
That's
actually got
cool,
my
yeah.
daughter. She went to the store, to the supermarket, to buy some stuff, and she's like, "Can I buy anything?" "Yeah, buy a bag of peanuts." I'm out of peanuts. So that's what I'm doing after this: peanuts.
That's
Do you like them dry roasted? Because it's weird in the South here. Like
Yeah.
if you go down to the deep South, they're all boiled. And I was like, boiled? Because
Yeah.
we don't do that here.
Nah, I like all kinds of dry roasted, salted. We have like chili nuts. Do you have that in America as well? Sort of, sort of coated with sort of chili. That's
Yeah, yeah.
really good as well.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I never tried the boiled peanuts though.
No.
19. What would you do if you were invisible for a day?
Who? If I were invisible for a day, I don't know. Sneak up on people and sort of scare them. Just being a ghost, sort of taking sort of paper from people's offices and stuff, and just seeing how they react.
Like pranks all day.
I haven't thought of that one. It was a great question. I think I would, or just sort of enjoying the sort of moment of being left alone.
It's true. Yeah.
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 Yeah, I'm pretty sure we got one of them around here because I'm always going, where is my coffee? It's
Yeah.
always like, how did I lose a whole cup of coffee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I lose my caps all the time. I have them everywhere, and I'm like asking, "Have anyone seen my trucker cap?" And then like, "Not again." How difficult is it to put it somewhere where you sort of know where you have it?
Horrible. We're always losing our glasses too.
Yeah.
Mark always says they're somewhere laughing at us.
They're all together.
Yeah.
Going,
Yeah.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Here we are. Yeah. So the same thing with guitar picks as well. They always disappear as well.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
all gathering somewhere.
All together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 28. Are you good at cooking or baking? And what would your specialty be?
Cooking. I really enjoy cooking, actually, and I cook quite a lot, and I always enjoy that. It's sort of it sort of connects to being a creative person, I guess.
Yes.
Just playing music and everything, and sort of trying. I don't like sort of cooking to recipes. I try to find my own way of doing stuff, and I really enjoy that. It's sort of really a good way to sort of wind down from a day of work or whatever, and trying different stuff. I really enjoy cooking, and my children always say, "Oh, this is one of those dishes that you serve once and you can never do it again because you never know how you did it." So there's been a lot of that during their whole sort of upbringing. A lot of one-time dishes that they have enjoyed,
Okay.
and I can't cook them again because I don't know what I did.
Do the kids like your cooking? They like it?
Yeah, they
Oh,
do.
cool.
I only have one. My oldest one has left. She's at university now, so she's 22 years old. But I have she's not a kid anymore. She's 18. She would kill me if I called her a kid. She's 18, so
I understand. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we get that quite often. I'll make something for Mark. He's like, what is it? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah.
She's
Doesn't have an
a
official
great
name.
cook. She likes to take a recipe and then kind of change
Yeah.
it just slightly. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
slightly something different. Instead of
something
sort
different.
of minced meat, you use chicken or whatever. Try to
Right.
find different stuff. As I said, it's sort of I think it's the same creative vein, I guess, from as with music.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right. So we're up to 73. What is something that normal people do that is actually pretty weird?
Normal people do this actually pretty weird. There's a lot of stuff here in Sweden that people do that is weird. That was a tricky one. Normal people do that is weird. Picking their nose? No, that's human. I don't have a good answer for that one. What have a previous guest answered? I'm kind of curious.
Just silly stuff like,
Yeah.
when I get done my shower, I love to walk around with a towel on my head for a while.
Yeah.
I don't know why I do that.
I
Yeah.
always think it's interesting when you go into a restaurant and there's people that are all sitting at the table and they're all on their phones. No one's talking.
Yeah.
They're all That's weird,
That's
I think.
that's
Yeah.
definitely the one weird thing that sort of we're not socialized. We're sitting here supposed to socialize, and we're all staring at our phones. And
Phones.
yeah, and I that is something that is really weird. I just recently changed work, but previously I worked as a teacher and a principal as well. And seeing a lot of people sort of when they pick up their kids from school, instead of enjoying the moment with their kids, sort of after hard days of work, they're on their phones, sort of on Instagram and Facebook, instead of taking time with your child and sort of listening to how have your day been and what have you learned in school today. That's a weird thing, and I think that's we're starting to see that as well. The children have sort of reflecting to that as well, sort of really want to have the attention from their parents in a way that they really don't get, a lot of them, which it makes me sad.
That's true.
Have you were principal, what was some of the strangest situations where children were sent to the principal's office?
Not really. I was principal for sort of the youngest children from 6
Okay.
to 12, so nothing really. And we don't really work that way in Sweden. Sort of going to the principal's office is not a sort of a punishment. It's sort of much more sort of a, I don't know how you should put it. I mean, we're sort of working, trying to, if a children react to something or is angry, there's usually a reason for it, and then it's our job to find out what is it. And usually it's stuff. It could be stuff from home. Something happened. Parents are getting a divorce or whatever, or they just have a hard time in school. So it's sort of almost like being a detective and trying to find what is it. Why is this kid behaving this way? So it was an interesting job, but it was a tough job as well. Seeing a lot of kids having a hard time.
It's very evolved compared to our country.
Yeah.
I was sent to the principal a couple times for the dumbest reason, correcting my English teacher's grammar.
Okay.
After I did it like the third time she sent me. And
Yeah.
I just, I was like, I don't know. I always had trouble with English teachers because I was always very good at it. And they just,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
I
was
thought I
sent to
was
it.
being a
Yeah,
smart
I
ass
was-
all the time.
Yeah, I was sent to the principal's office when I went to school for setting fire to my chemistry book. I think that was fair. I just
Yeah,
put
things
it-
have
it was
things have gotten
whoosh.
better. Yeah.
Yeah. And I always sort of, because I went to the same school there where as I was working as a principal, and I always sort of related to that. Or I remember when I went here as a kid and had to talk to the principal because I had set fire to my chemistry book, and now I'm the principal.
Yeah. Yeah, and talking about books, when we were in college, we had to buy our own books, and the books were so expensive. It would be like you didn't want the book anyway, but some accounting
No.
book would be like $150, and it was just
Yeah.
like. And then when you go to sell it back, that you'd only get $30. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Or even worse, they'd say, "Oh, that's an old edition now," and
Yeah.
you just had to take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You can use that one. It's an old edition. Yeah.
No
You
beer
have
money.
the same in
Yeah.
university here in Sweden. You have to buy all your books, but like preschool or high school and everything is free for everyone. So
Yeah.
I always
That's
liked the
better.
teacher. You had to buy the book that they wrote. I'm like, I thought
yeah,
that's a gimmick.
That was never
Yeah,
good
yeah.
because you knew they were going to make you learn all of the book because they wrote
yeah,
it.
yeah. They put their heart and soul into that book, and now you have to suffer.
Exactly. Exactly. I remember that. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. This turned into an interesting conversation. We're like talking school books now. We're supposed to talk
Yeah.
your
But anyway,
your hard rock
Yeah.
album, but
Back
it
to
turned
the-
into something different.
Yeah. Yeah.
back to you guys. So you mentioned your 30-year celebration coming up. How did that come together, and what are you including in that? Yeah, do you know, like as far as set list?
Yeah, when we had that show in last May, we did that anniversary show. So we got all the previous members actually agreed to come, and we had a couple of other guests as well. People that played on the albums. So we did a show in our hometown here in a small village actually called Mönsterås. So we got everyone involved and played songs from all the albums. I think we played two or three from each album, and had all the members play on the songs they played on the album. So it was a really cool experience. It was really cool to sort of see a couple of the guys who have been in the band years ago. They had a bass player who didn't play on any albums, but he played for a couple of years on a couple of demos before the first album, and he hadn't played bass in 30 years. But he came to the show and he had to borrow a bass for me because he didn't have anyone for himself. But it was good seeing everyone and just having a good time, and we had a big party afterwards, and just being able to be friends and sort of celebrate together was really cool, because I don't think all bands are able to do that. It's usually a couple of people don't get along or whatever, so they can't do it. But everyone agreed, and everyone sort of, yeah, of course I'm coming. That sounds fabulous. So that was really a fun night.
That's great.
Do you have one favorite bass that you usually take for shows, or do you only have one?
Yeah, I have one. I have an old Fender Precision bass I had for 25 years. That's my go-to bass for most shows and recording as well. And then I have tons of stuff actually sitting around, a lot of it. I think I have 11 or 12 basses here. There's a saying in that you can always have one more bass.
We went to a show the other day. It was a death metal band, and the bass player had this old 70s Firebird bass. It just didn't match the music. I was expecting to hear Cactus or something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I have a Thunderbird here as well, and I have a Rickenbacker. I think I have 3 or 4 different Fenders, and I think I have a 8-string bass as well. And I love just buying stuff, and always sort of for different songs on different albums. There's one on the last track on the album, Wild Mustang. There's a little bit of fretless bass at the end as well, which I try to stick in every once in a while. I think I've used it once before. So I think it's kind of interesting to get a sort of a different vibe, I guess.
Yeah.
But the Fender, the old Fender Precision 78, that is the one I'm sort of, if the house were on fire, that would be the one I would bring. It's been around the world so many times, and it's sort of my go-to bass. So when
you go on tour, do you take like do you take the more expensive bass with you, like the collector with you, or do you have like a one that's more practical? I can't imagine a Rickenbacker going in the airport, packing that and actually taking care of it, and what if they lose it, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a hard time. Actually, we went to the Netherlands. We did a flying show a couple of years ago, and they lost the Fender bass, my go-to bass. We got there to Amsterdam, and they're supposed to, the festival people came and picked us up, and my bass was missing. And I was and we came to the festival and no bass, and so we had to borrow some stuff from a local band there, and did the show. And when we got back to the hotel late at night, there was a knock on the door, and the bass was there. But I was really nervous for a while. It's not that it's super expensive, but it's such a part of me, I guess. And you heard like horror stories, and there's a couple, the Rickenbacker, as you said, I don't usually, if we're doing fly out shows, I don't take that one. It's been a lot of problems here for the last couple of years in Europe with stuff getting lost at airports. So and I try to sort of always, when we're doing shows, sort of, I never leave stuff behind. I always take it with me to the hotel room, because it's so easy for stuff to disappear.
Oh yeah. Yeah, my dad had this bright idea one time when my mom and dad went on a cruise. He put all their shoes in one suitcase, and I think somebody thought it was valuable, and somebody stole all their shoes. They had no shoes. I was like, oh my God.
Walking around barefoot.
I think it was an interview I read, and again, some of this you have to take with a grain of salt, but I think it was Paul from the Sex Pistols. He said that he lived behind Hammersmith Odeon and they didn't lock it, and so he would steal instruments. They would set up. All his instruments were stolen at one point in his life from Hammersmith Odeon.
Probably true.
Could be, yeah, because we're talking
Yeah.
mid-70s here. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
So outside Sweden, where do you think your biggest fan base is?
We played a lot in Netherlands and Germany. Our record label is German. We had a German record label for over 20 years now. So I think Central Europe, France. We're doing shows in France and Belgium and Netherlands in May. Germany. We played quite a lot in Italy as well. So sort of main Europe, Central Europe, and also Sweden as well.
Would you consider coming back to the US?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually had an offer. We had an offer this for doing some. I think it was a festival in Las Vegas, but it was a little bit of a short notice. So hopefully we will be able to do it next year. It's a little bit more difficult nowadays, and you have to sort everything out with airplane tickets and have to have all the right paperwork and stuff. So it's difficult. We got it sort of can you come in like 3 weeks, and it's impossible to organize things with
visas
such
and all.
short-
Yeah,
Yeah,
getting visas
yeah.
is so difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's expensive as well. So if you're going, you can't really go for just one show. You have to put together a string of dates to sort of make ends meet. But definitely, we would love to come back. So it's something we always try to. It just had to be the right time and the right situation, I guess.
No, we'd love to have you over.
Yes, we would.
In
Yeah.
case we have any vote at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on this album. It is fantastic.
Yes, we really love it.
Thanks a lot.
Falling on deaf ears.
Deaf Ears 1 is the Pineapple Thief's new album. It leads to this. After 15 full-length records, extensive world tours, and 20-plus years of existence, prog rock fans should know what to expect from the Pineapple Thief. Quirky bass lines from John Sykes, sparse yet inventive guitar from Bruce Sword, endless porcupine tree comparisons, and the peerless percussion of Gavin Harrison, who can make a straight 4/4 tempo sound like 13/8 and still keep the vibe suitable for the coffee shop. I've always heard multiple influences on their sound, from Radiohead to Floyd to Peter Gabriel. The self-titled Peter Gabriel. Isn't it funny that Peter Gabriel has like 5 self-titled records? I always figured, like, for So, the record company was like, "You've got to give us a title." And he was like, "So." And they're like, 2 letters. And then it was like his biggest seller ever. Anyway, it's just not about Peter Gabriel. This is not relevant to the story. So at any rate, there's something almost whimsical about Pineapple Thief, like college professors crafting straight-ahead rock songs. These 8 songs occupy a scant 40 minutes of space, so even casual fans of prog rock can feel safe that they're not dipping their toe into the topographic ocean with this band.
It's an album of moods. All that's left is an exercise in airy, tribal rhythms, spiced by some space-age keyboard exercise from Steve Kitch. Rubicon takes off on a wounded, odd time riff that steps convincingly into a downright sing-songy chorus before returning to the weirdness once again. The title track may be the standout, if only for the lush chorus. So it leads to this. How could we get it so wrong? Bedazzled by expertly crafted guitar thrums from Sword, smart but not pretentious, hooky but intelligent, poppy but full of musical muscle. There's not much here for prog fans to dislike, except maybe for brevity. Trivia: longtime Pineapple Thief producer also twiddled the knobs for the last Autopsy record. True story.
Awesome. That's great. I didn't know that. So this song is called All That's Left.
If we had more time, we had more time for us. The end of this earth is not enough. If we had our time,
Okay, Deaf Ears 2 is The New Traveler is finally here, prequel to Madness.
We are certainly no strangers to the solid melodic speed stylings of Traveler. They sure grabbed our attention with their second full-length, Termination Shock. It was a dyed in the veritable heavy metal wool, a really good album, whose power melodic stylings a la Iron Maiden. We interviewed Matt Reese way back in season 1 and learned more about the band and even chatted about drug-sniffing dog.
Look it up. It's back there, season 1.
We saw them live when they came to Baltimore on the Terra Hunters tour. And I remember thinking, wow, these guys are even better live. I thought they were just as good as the headliner. We talked pre-show with JP, and he disclosed that they were working on a new album. The band put on such a dynamic set that night. Looking back on it now, I think it was not just the live factor, but rather something else has started to gel for these Canadian rockers. Maybe it was a subtle change of drummer and bass player that followed their 2020 release. Maybe the dynamic duo of mainstays Matt Reese and JP Abood had reached a seasoned groove. Maybe the moon was in the 7th house.
Erica Stoltz is a delightful girl with a firm grip. Hi, Erica. Whatever the reason, the age of Travelers seems to be gloriously upon us as their latest release, prequel to Madness. The cover art is a hint to jump from good to great. Gone are the muted black, blue, and gray shades of their early records. Here we have a burst of orange, red, green, and blue. The familiar style is still there, the Traveler, the many-armed cyborg making a familiar appearance, just like the core sound of this 9-track offering remains signature Traveler. As for performances on this latest release, everyone seems to have pushed themselves to the next level. The songwriting via Abood and Reese is spot on, and it's got more hooks than an elementary school coat room. The instrumental opener of Mayday is tantalizing. Siren sounding off as the drums of Chad Valier come in like a MASH helicopter, and there's glorious twin guitar harmonies of Reese and Torian Scanlish launch us in, and we have liftoff.
Dark Skull has a kettle chip crunchy opening guitar riff. JP Abood's full baritone runs the octave a la Rob Halford. Layered gang choruses add to the uplifted battle-ready feel, compelling me to wave my tankard and sing along. The guitar solo is awe-inspiring, and those harmonies playing off each other are goosebump-inducing. The intense drums of Chad Valier keep this track tough as nails. The Law is another push the pedal down, crank it up, and open the windows and sing at the top of your lungs on the highway burner. The bass grooves of Dave Arnold are as thick as a milkshake. In their more gallopy tracks, like these two, they really harken a sound like Slough Fig. Hey, wait a minute. Slough Fig had an album entitled Traveler. Well, the plot thickens.
Hi, Scalzi. Get in touch. Heavy Heart begins with a yowl from Abood. My favorite kind of yowl, too, the soul-ripping kind, with more laced in here and there to my delight. Epic guitar solos continue to flow, even a short, bubbly bass solo. Hell yes, they did. The lyrics are still a bit darker, here bemoaning the heavy heart, but with the line, "This time you will bleed for me." I think our hero will soldier on. Abood switches up his vocal styling in No Fate, adopting a smoother, more operatic style, making me think that he could go toe-to-toe with Fang from Lords of the Trident in one of their sing-offs. Perhaps as a barista.
All the tracks run in the 3 to 4 minute range, with the exceptions of the just over 5-minute Rebels of the Earth and the 7+ minute penultimate closing track, prequel to Madness. Melt your face off guitar harmonies give way to a chunky groove. The percussion segments here, this time featuring Noli Bendati on drums and Jake Wendt on bass, had me singing the beat. Ba-da-ba-da-ba. The lyrics here are more intricate than some of the other tracks that employ the catchy simplicity of a 2-word chorus refrain, adding yet another side of this band. I'm the mind they cannot contain, the destroyer of everything, ethereal traveler. It all ends with a quiet acoustic guitar solo, standing alone. Like the lyrics in the last track say, I have seen what the future brings, and I think it's going to be a lot of well-deserved lauds for this ethereal traveler.
Okay, this is the title track, prequel to Madness.
Life
Okay, Deaf Ears 3 is the new one from Midas Fall, Cold Waves Divide Us.
Brooding, hypnotic, pulverizing, intoxicating. Just a few words to describe the fifth album from the veteran post-rock trio Midas Falls that drops March 8th worldwide. This is a band with a veritable arsenal of weapons at their disposal, from aching strings to ice droplet guitars to innovative percussion shared by all members of the band. All of this is capped by Elizabeth Heaton's powerful, eleglatic vocal performances that soar 1 minute and practically weep the next. The band has worked hard to hone their craft, and it shows over these 10 songs, most of which weave their drama over the 4 to 5 minute range. The guitars are somewhat understated, preferring to pop and simmer instead of crunch, as piano melodies and orchestral segs and Heaton's voice carry us from the quiet and subdued to the vast and dramatic.
This is not background music for a puppet show. Heaton herself has confirmed that most of their music comes from a place of sadness and reflection. Take, for example, the single I Am Wrong, a textbook example of Midas Fall's knack for building tension over the space of 5 minutes with slow building riffs, hard-hitting drums, pinging guitar melodies, and Heaton's sweeping vocals. The instrumental track, Point of Diminishing Return, shows off the band's confidence to experiment. The overlapping synth lines and roaring guitars lock in tandem with organic drums for a cinematic effect. It literally sounds like it could be a sci-fi movie theme. The title track may be the strongest on the record, working its way up to a percussive gallop, adorned with hooky vocal coups and gorgeous violin and synth melodies that echo and chirp dramatically. This may be my favorite Scottish band since the Cocteau Twins, and I highly recommend checking out this album as well as the band's back catalog.
This is I Am Wrong.
This was a good one. I confess my fear of emojis.
We talked about really bad dates and people we have been out with.
That was the live stream.
That was the live stream, but you could check it back there at the live stream.
Yeah, I had that in. I took it out. That's the reason why I know. We talked about Canadian oddities. It seems like there's such a wealth of them.
We got to reminisce on a great show we saw with Traveler and Sanhedrin, and
We did.
that was a great Savage Master.
We
It was a
talked.
good show.
We talked about the Slayer reunion. What?
This has been the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast. Special thanks to Roger from the Quill for appearing on the show. Snaggletooth theme courtesy of Jens Kemgren of the Firebombs. Hi, Jens. Deaf Ears theme by Tim Green of the Fucking Champs. Season 3 artwork courtesy of KC Angel. You can check him out at KC Angel Art on Instagram. Deaf Ears bands include Midas Fall, Traveler, The Pineapple Thief. All content 2024. The Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast.
Snaggletooth mugs ready to ship. Patreon, baby.
This is the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast.